ahead and shoot this video here and think about fantasy points per game in a PPR league. In the most popular league, it seems right now that's doing that. Of course, there's a couple, but maybe DraftKings. In my Google search here, I typed in fantasy football research, fantasy points per game on DraftKings, and I'm just looking through and trying to find where we can have that information laid out and researched for us. I did check here already, which is an actual DraftKings, it appears, research tool to see if it has that information. And what I'm seeing here is a bunch of articles and of course a lot of DraftKings related things. But let's look under NFL to see if we can find anything there. And there's giving more articles as far as things to consider. Let's try another search real quick to see where you might go as far as any questions on where to find this, and then I'll show you where to do so. Let's see what the second result is. Well, let's go ahead to Fantasy Pros. I know they're pretty good about research information and how to build a lineup such as this. Cash game plays here. Let's see. Maybe projections. Okay, so here it's showing basic NFL stats. Not what I'm looking for either. But let me show you where I will go. Or I'll take you right to it as far as where you can find this information. It's at this website URL here, dfsfreereport.com/get-free-access. Let's go there. So this is where you can see how to create winning lineups. You can enter in your information here. You will receive a free report. And this is going to entail a particular article that has some very important information on this that you can gather here. And it entails this here. I need to update it, but at the Wealthy Fantasy Football Manager, and of course you need to come down to search it. That was fantasyfootball.com. Type in keys to consistency. And then click on search. And then you can, of course, come to the first result of the article, Fantasy Football Starters of Consistency, Keys to Evaluating. And they will outline for you and look at some things that I came up with about this time of year, same time of year last year in week 4 or 5. As you see here, 5 games played by these particular players, just to outline it for you, as you'll see different ways of looking at fantasy points, projections, and means, standard deviation, and coefficient, how to come up with those numbers. Okay, so there's some detailed information there. I'll provide more in future blogs and videos. So let's go over now, though. If when you opt into that site, after you come here and opt in, then you're going to be able to go to this site here. Once you obtain a trial account, you'll see this is your draft dashboard page, the main page, and you'll see a lot of information here right on the front page. Scrolling down, recent status changes of injury, player stock changes according to, for example here, who's playing and who's not, whether they're going up or down. And then when you come down more on the right side here, you can see here there are various matchups for the week. Let's take this for example, Bills at Bengals. And here we see, as I have it set right now on DraftKings, as you see, that Buffalo, for example, in DraftKings scores 113.75 fantasy points per game. Now that's 4 games so far. We're in week 5 coming up. And Cincinnati has scored only 59 point some fantasy points per game. So you can see a big difference in the scoring and kind of compare as far as picking and choosing your teams that you actually want to play. Maybe start with something like that. And also the over and under Vegas of 38.5, which is not really high, but there's a point spread of only 2.5 as well, as Buffalo is favored in this game. Next thing we may want to look at, and actually building one of these lineups. Well, let's bring a lineup here I might want to build to go ahead and do so as well as we look at the lobby of the football. Actually, I want to be in DraftKings, don't I? Okay, so organizing a lineup here, as you can see, we had to pick out this roster here, including 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and flex, as well as a defense. So keeping all these things in mind and wanting to find some good low price options, we would just come back to our DSF draft board and come to, really, you want to find the studs, or the most consistent players that are performing. And I'm researching this information here to find out and figure out, according to my article, whether these are actually the most consistent fantasy players. But you want to align and choose and pick and choose differently according to the type of contest you're in, whether it's tournament or cash gains, considering that. So here are some of the top plays of the week, of course, as we can go ahead and optimize. What I like to do is pick out a quarterback and receiver combo that looks kind of like makes sense. For example, here, scrolling down, to me, I thought I saw the guy I wanted. Okay, Mike Evans, 7,900, and Jameis Winston at 6,000 as a low price option. It kind of makes sense to me as a top play this week. Overall, the rankings are great, 100 and 100. So I'll start out with that combo. Actually, I'm not seeing him there for some reason. He's not in this particular slate of games. So let's see what else we got. Here we go. Randall Cobb will match up well in playing Rodgers along with him. He's a top play, but we can do that because Cobb is not too highly priced. So let's put them in there. So get the highest price option of quarterback, safe play, he's a stud. And the right wide receiver will put in Cobb. It's a nice slot receiver for him to work with. Here he is. So now what are my next choices and options? Coming back to the draft dashboard. Go ahead and try to pick out my number 1 running back. Let's go ahead to the lineup optimizer here. Position optimizer, that is right here. Now remember, these are specially formulated to fit in with DraftKings as far as the best value option prices and according to an algorithm of a few different factors, but considering the running backs here, in which these are going to be, of course, number 1 guys on the depth charts, maybe even number 2s at some point. Let's see. Just looking for a guy that I like. I do believe or not like Duke Johnson is a matchup, the 29th ranked defense in the Jets versus running backs in fantasy. So I'm going to insert him in there at only 4,900. Definitely going to play him. How much was he? If you forget where it is, just kind of helps you. He's only $4,900. So I can look for the 4,900 range and stick him in there. There he is. To be able to kind of do this quickly. Who else do I like here? I really like Todd Gurley, no matter who's matched up against. 19th ranked versus fantasy running backs and 8th ranked overall defense, Seattle. I'm actually willing to go with that, so let's put him in there at 8,000. I like to go ahead and get my defense sorted out early as far as placing in as well. So let's go to the defenses, sort them out for a moment. Of course, you'll be able to see how this lineup does for myself on Sunday with this recorded. I'll sort these as well right here according to the greens or best options. Browns at home versus the Jets. Not really crazy about that option. Neither the Colts. I'm kind of feeling the Eagles. Arizona's limited in their running game and they'll have to pass. Maybe they can just tee off on that and get some big turnovers and things like that. Let's go with the Eagles defense, 3,100. There we go, 3,100. As we can see, we've got 4,800 per player left over to give us as an idea. Let's take a look at some receivers in that price range just to get one. Grab a guy here, 4,800 range. This is how I build my lineups. Actually, I'll bump it up to look at the guys in the 5,000 range. Martavis Bryant, Sammy Watkins, J.J. Nelson, Alan Hearns, and Brandon Marshall, Paul Richardson. I'm going to tell you right now who I like out of these guys, and that's going to be Paul Richardson. In this particular contest, actually this is a 100K contest. Not many guys are going to, let's not do that because I need a high variance guy. It's referred to like coefficient variable, going back to this article for a moment. Seeing that I need one of these guys with a high standard deviation. Last year, Tevin Coleman was pretty decent with that, as well as Devontae Freeman, as well as Marvin Jones Jr., although he's not doing so well this year with that. So let's go with another option. So I continue to sort this out here. Let's go back to our optimizer for wide receivers. See who we can find here. Here's actually a nice low price option, a little bit higher than what we even wanted to gather, but 6,100, we can work with him on that. As a really consistent option right now for Brady to work with, so let's put him in there. 6,100. I thought I saw him in there. Oh, that New England Tampa Bay game must be an off day. That's not showing up in the lineup. Okay. Let's see who else we got. This I like. Will Fuller versus Kansas City. They have a weaker secondary than expected. Kind of banged up. Let's go with this guy here, 4,400. Since he came back already, he's been really good. Where is he? He's not in the lineup either. Let's see. Versus Kansas City. Must be a night game. Maybe Monday night. Okay, not included in that. Let's see. Here's a guy has a good matchup and everything. Let's see what Miami guys we can find. There he is, Kenny Stills, sleeper option, right? Okay. Let's check out our tight ends. We got some money to spend. In fact, it's a pretty good one here. It's been really consistent throughout the year. It won't hurt our team that we can put in there as opposed to some of these guys. But let's get our optimizer out anyways for the tight ends. See how long this video is so far. Try to time it out. Well, it's been 16 minutes. So the computers have Austin Safari and Jenkins ranked high, as well as Cameron Brate, but they're not on a slate for this matchup that we need. But we got Ben Watson, Jared Cook, Evan Ingram, Martellus Bennett, and Zach Miller. So who do you like the best? Not feeling Cook without his quarterback, Derek Carr. So I'm feeling Ingram, although not with a good matchup versus the Chargers, 8th ranked. How about Zach Miller? Minnesota has not been that good versus the tight end. 5 targets a game, but almost 7 points per game fantasy-wise. Let's give him a shot here, 2,800. I'm not seeing him there. Zach Miller, 2,800 versus Minnesota. Not included on the slate. Well, why don't we give Austin Safari a shot here? 3,500. Now we got 2 left, a wide receiver and a flex. About 6,000 each to spend, right? I'm going to go a little bit more than 6,000 on a receiver, and then we'll figure out our flex. Let's see who we got. Des Bryant versus Green Bay at home. Not bad. Golden Tate versus Carolina at home. Pierre Garcon is interesting. He's been consistent as well as a fantasy option. Away at Indianapolis. T.Y. Hilton. This guy here, he's gotten better with Brissett at quarterback, but hasn't had a very good bad start. He's capable of a lot. This is a good price for him. So I'm going to go with him and hope that he continues that upward trend. And then our flex, see how much money we have left. We have 6,000. Interesting, we got Melvin Gordon here, don't we? Oh, there's our Miami receiver that we were looking for. At least one of them, Jarvis Landry. Alright, let's see what Melvin Gordon can do for us here in our lineup. Back to the optimizer. We'll just look for him here, see how he stacks up. It's funny, last year this is how he looked. Where's his, here we go. After a few games last year, just comparing the same time last year, he had a standard deviation of great consistency of only 4.38 and a coefficient variation of one of the best at running back in the league. Now, I don't see these kind of numbers at 0.23, an average mean of about 19 points fantasy-wise per game. So he's going to get us some solid points. As a flex option, you can't get much better than that. So we're going to insert him here. So we just can get an idea of how that's looking with Rodgers and Cobb stacked with high upsided receivers, tight ends, even a flex. Duke Johnson Jr. has been doing really well actually as a PPR running back. This is how we set our PPR lineup now in DraftKings in particular. So we'll enter that for free. And there we go. So we got that set now. To win, I'll get a share of a piece of that 500 top prize or 500,000. I believe it was total in prizes. Oh, I'd already entered into that contest. No problem. I'll just adjust that later on. No big deal. But there you see how to do it. Use your optimizer, find the best values of fantasy, and I'll get into much more detail on this in future articles and videos. All right, take care.